I'm here now with Luc Floreani. Luc Floreani. Now, is that Italian name? What is that?
Yes. So originally from my father is from Udine in Italy. Mum is Irish, and I grew up in Australia.
That is a combination.
That is a proper.
Why Australia though? Is that they decided to settle out there?
I think there was at the time there was a lot of work for my grandfathers. So they both my parents were out on the boat with their families very young, and and I grew up in Alice Springs, probably the most remote place in the world. I think there's only 25,000 people there.
So you must have loads of family out there and go out there quite a lot still.
So I try and go back to Australia twice a year if I can. I try and book it in with any tours we do. Anything like that.
Do you think you'd drop back home? Now tell us a little bit about your start of your career, because I couldn't really pinpoint exactly what you do, because you do so many different things. I mean, okay, you manage artists, you promote artists, you do artist development, you songwrite, so many different things. But if someone had to ask that question, what does Luc Floreani do? What would you say is your main thing?
Okay.
If you had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I would say we are artist and brand development. So for me, I think gone are the days of a major record label. Gone are the days where you walk in to a record label with a CD and you say, here are my 12 tracks, please make me famous. And I think, so what we do is we take the brand and we say, how do we develop this? How do we develop music? How do we develop the artist? How do we develop the brand awareness? How do we take this to market? And then also, how do you monetize it? Because there are so many ways to make money from music now, and it's open to how much work you're willing to put out and how much work you're willing to do. So
that's a lot of work though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a lot of work.
I mean, artist development, it covers, I mean, I know I do it, it covers so many things. When someone says, okay, I want to be developed by you, where do you start? Is it like you literally sitting in a studio writing with someone, or is it you getting lyrics from someone? Because it can cover so many things.
I think first of all, it comes down to, you've got to sit with the individual artist and say, what do you want? And then you've got to come up with an idea of what does this brand fit well? And what are the unique selling points? What makes your artist special? Everyone is special. Everyone has something special to offer. And what you've got to do is you've got to find what is that person's unique selling point as a singer, as a songwriter, as a brand. Who is going to listen to that? And then you need to keep the authenticity 100%. Like, there's no point in trying to be like the next Beyonce or trying to be the next Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran made it because he was Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran made it because
there's something different as well though, because at that time when he came out, he was different. There wasn't another Ed Sheeran at that time.
You could say that about Lady Gaga, you can say that about Beyonce, you say that about Madonna. You can say that about any number of bands, including bands as well. And so it's much more about saying, what is it that is truly unique about you?
So you're looking for a unique selling point for an artist. Is that so? For example, now you've been promoting fantastic artists who we've had on the show before, Dan Austin. He's doing fantastically well from what I hear. He's been touring as well in Japan.
So China, So we've just been to China and we're about to go back. Now, I think what we look for within artists, there are a number of things. One is talent is obviously very important. They need to be able to hone their craft and have that craft to a very high level. Then the second thing, which is probably the most important thing, is they have to have a likability factor. And you can't teach that. People are either likable or not. When you walk into a room, do people go, oh, I want to know who that is? Or do they go, oh, she's a bit, or he's a bit, So that likability factor is super important. And then the third thing is, can I work with them? Like, are they going to be a diva? Are they, like, it's hard work. Like,
do you push divas away though?
Oh, we just don't go near them.
You just don't go near them.
So we have a team, we're a team of 12. So we're a fairly small management team. And the team can say, hey, Luke, we're not having this. And
Is that because divas tend to be temperamental? Are they unreliable, or are they just too full of themselves? What is it?
I guess the definition of a diva is an unlikable person that just is this is an absolute team effort. Like, you know, we have a team that's working on tours, a team that's working on clothing, a team that's working on music and music development, and then getting a band rehearsed. And there are so many elements. We don't have room for a diva, you know, and you'll never make it, because generally a diva, to me, a diva is someone that is rather insecure about what they're doing, and so they put on this big face. We need a worker. We need someone that's going to, like, for instance, Dan does a lot of his own social media, does most of it, and he will work it up to 10 or 12 hours a day on his own social media.
I remember him saying that actually in his last interview. He focuses a lot on his social media.
Absolutely.
Actually, touching on that now, social media has helped to give a platform to lots of artists in the industry. I mean, do you think that's the reason why the industry is changing now, when we're not relying so much on these big labels, because artists can rely on their own social media to get themselves out there? Do you think it's helped push it forward?
Absolutely. I think we are now in the best position ever to break new artists, because we're no longer relying on 3 or 4 major labels to sanction whether we're good enough. Now, I was lucky enough to work with Luc Floreani a few years ago.
Great artist.
Yeah, like, he's not bad, is he? Like, he's pretty much as it goes. And he said to me, Luke, hone your craft, and your people will come. He said there is a market for Bjork and there is a market for Pavarotti. He said, so just get good at what you do and the people will come. Now that we're in a position where we don't need to be reliant on record labels, you don't have to be a Celine Dion. You know, you don't have to be a Luther Vandross. You know, you don't have to be a Stevie Wonder. You can actually be your own brand of music. And if you're promoting it right, and what I would say is keep authentic to what you do and who you are. Keep true to yourself, because the people that are going to love your music are going to love the fact that you wear sunglasses on your head. They're going to love the fact that you wear a leather jacket. They're going to love the fact that you drink coffee. If that's not what you want to do, don't pretend to do it for other people, because people are going to buy into the truth, the integrity of it. And we spend so much time protecting our artists to say, no, do that. And then the other thing I think we probably spend a lot of time doing is saying, hey, you are good enough. Show us the true element of who you are. Because when you make it and you become super famous, like what happened when we were working with Sam Smith, now with Dan, like, they get under a lot of pressure to conform, and they get a lot of criticism. So if you're not feeling truly comfortable with what your music, with the way you dress, the way you portray yourself, you're going to come unstuck.
You mentioned Sam Smith earlier. Obviously, I was reading your bio and found that you helped to get him discovered.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Was it a case of him approaching you? Did you see him? How did it work?
So his mother, so we were doing an event, and I had his mother come up to me and say, my son's a fantastic singer. He's great, like every mother thinks their son's a great singer. And I said, yeah, sure, fair enough. Okay, send me some stuff. And I thought Sam was good. His mother was so persistent and so ambitious that we said, okay, well, let's start doing this. So I remember giving Sam vocal lessons in my lounge room, and I gave him vocal lessons I remember sitting there going over songs and saying, oh, come on, Sam. He was like, Luke, I don't think I can sing that bit of my voice. Luke, I'm not sure.
I can't imagine Sam Smith doing that now, because he's got a superb voice. You actually had to encourage him.
Of course, and he's like, I'm a bit scared of my lower register. Like, maybe it's not. And so everyone does that, because you don't start off with a natural. You don't start off with a natural. I guess you start off with that talent, but to unleash that talent takes quite a bit of courage. So everyone like that, and we talk a lot of this with the new artists, to say, yeah, they sort of say, oh, look, God, I just went, we just had another artist go top 10 in the charts this week.
Oh, that's Emma.
That's Emma Valentine. And
congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yes, we're very excited about that. So we just had Emma go top 10. Now the same thing is saying, okay, what is your sound? You know, what is it? What makes you feel comfortable? And you know, it's quite scary when you first come out.
So you've given you've obviously done some vocal mentoring as well as songwriting then. So you kind of work from the root, don't you?
So I started as a singer-songwriter myself. And
were you singing singing yourself, though, writing your own stuff for you as an artist when you started,
And
not
then-
for other people to begin with? Always for yourself.
Always for myself. And so I was signed. I had my first record deal when I was 21.
Wow.
So how's this for a story? I came to London as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, and I'd met a lady in Alice Springs. I sang at a wedding, and she said to me, "Luke, when you come to London, you must sing at my charity." And I said, "Sure." Alice Springs is 20,000 people. So she said, "Look, it's in that place called Hyde Park, so come and meet me in Hyde Park." And I said, "Look, that's fine, I'll find it," thinking
Hyde Park is something small.
the showground in Alice Springs is the same size as a football pitch. So I was like, I should be able to find you. So when I got out of the tube at Hyde Park, I was like, oh my God. So the first gig I ever did in London, I remember I was driven from the gates up to the stage, and it was 25,000 people in Hyde Park. So the first gig I ever did in London, I sang to a place bigger than the town I was born in. I don't think, I would never put anyone under that much pressure again. It was, I did it, but I remember thinking, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. Take me home. And then I signed a record deal the next day. So
just like that?
Like that, like literally they called me up and said, "Would you come in?"
That sounds like a dream that comes true, almost.
Yes, it is, except it's quite a curse, and it's what we do with the management company now. As I say, you're not ready for that. Like, to get to that point, once you're there, you've got to either maintain it or it's downhill.
That's right.
And that's the hard bit, because if you're not prepared, like if you're not prepared with, at least 10 or 20 songs, if you can't sing for 2 or 3 hours of music, if you don't have the social media to follow that up, you're being thrown into the sharks.
That's right.
You've got
you
no
definitely
skill set.
have to have a following. And now you've obviously established some artists, you've got some great artists under your belt, you're working with a great team and network of people. What can you see ahead now for your team? What can you see ahead? Obviously Dan's doing well, Emma's doing well. What's the future? What lies ahead now?
So I think now what we've got is, what we're doing is we're branching out and looking at how you can make money from music, not only online, but how do you monetize and how do you develop that brand? So it's things like, at the moment, Dan's just signed a big deal with a social media company, and so we're building brands alongside that. So we launched that in China. When does this go? So in a week's time, we launched that. Now that's probably going to earn it's going to earn him a lot of money. So what we're doing is saying, how do we get these brands out? What do we need to do with this music to get it out to the masses? Because we don't need a record label anymore. And what I'm absolutely adamant is that we protect the rights of the artists so that they keep hold of their copyright. And we would never sign an album deal. We'll never sign an album deal because I don't want to give away the control of one-night artists. I don't want to take their control away from them and give it to a record label. There are so many stories. Look, you have an 18 or a 20-year-old A&R guy saying, "I don't like your music anymore." It's got nothing to do with what they think. It's to do with what your following says. You build a big social media following, you stay in charge of it, you have a long-term career.
So you think it's okay for managers like yourself and artists to work independently and nurture their own talent and actually grow themselves,
There's no
have
need
control
for
over their own career rather than letting a company take care of them?
Would you let anyone do it? Why?
Well, what's happened with the success of, say, for example, someone like Madonna? You mentioned Madonna earlier, Lady Gaga, all of those types.
Yeah.
Why do they let the bigger record labels take over? Why? I mean, obviously George Michael stepped out of it. He steps away from that. He made that decision.
What happens is
there are some that don't.
When you have to have an organised. When you are that big, you have to have an organisation of people around you. But it's very different. Like, I remember going back in, once I got dropped from my first label, my second label, back in the day, I remember going in and them saying, "Look, why would we put money into selling your single when we could put money into selling Kylie? Like, she's a proven product." So when you're that big, you can walk in and say, "Hey, I want the whole team to be focused on what I'm doing," and they'll do it. for a new artist, why would you give away any of that control? What I would say to the better way to do it would be to create your own label and then license to one of these big guys if that's what you want to do. I think we're still, a lot of our emerging talent in this country is going, I'll make the music and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in my room, I'm going to write songs and then I'm going to go on tour. I don't want to know anything about the business side. Now we are in the music business. So with Dan, with Emma, with Bonnie, so as another artist of ours, what we'll do is we'll say, this is a business. So you need to be on social media. It's not enough now to just be a songwriter. Whereas back in the day, you could write a song, you send it into the A&R guy, and if he likes it, he'll go and put it on the radio. He'll go and pitch it to this person. Now we don't need that anymore.
And do you have a say on now? Obviously it's your company, but do you take on any more artists now? Do you feel like you might spread yourself too thin if you take on too many artists, or do you think it's best to concentrate on the ones that you've got, or perhaps take on some new ones you think might be positive for next year?
Always looking, but our criteria for taking on someone new goes back to those 3 points. Are they willing to hard work? Are they willing to really put in the work? Are they talented? And are they likable?
Watch this space, Luc Floreani. Thank you very much. Those 3 points. Watch this space. Any artists that, of course, interested, please do send your material over to Luc Floreani.
Not too much.
Not too much. Thank you very much for interview for Brooke on the Street.